Hello and welcome back to the Bottom Bins podcast. Today we are doing our second of our World Cup specials. We have a special episode in store for you today. Obviously there was only a couple of games this week, but once again, just like to say a massive thank you to everybody for all the support on the podcast. We're looking quite good on views at the minute, and we're just really happy with how everybody's been engaging with the podcast. So we're recording this on a Monday. So we've only got a couple of games that we can talk about here. We're currently Monday at 3:30 here, so we've literally only got 2 games that we can run through. But we have a special segment for you this week on our World Cup Wonders, is what we're calling it. Each of us have picked 3 players from World Cup history that we'd like to talk about and delve a little bit deeper into. And then we're going to finish off this episode then with our favourite World Cup shirts. So, first game then was last night. Opening ceremony was obviously on Saturday. I actually thought it was quite a nice opening ceremony.
Yeah, good fireworks.
So yeah, the fireworks were quite good.
I was about the height of it.
Yeah. And then Sunday we had the first game in the World Cup. The host Qatar took on Ecuador yesterday. Not the most exciting game, would that be fair to say, lads?
Yeah, one of the worst games I ever watched. Like,
there was only 11 shots the whole game, which is like the lowest since they started recording in 1966. It was just dreadful.
Yeah, it was just a droll game. There was no even with the home crowd, there was no real atmosphere to the game at all.
I know,
and it just showed the lack of quality in Qatar's team.
Second half especially, lads, it was just horrible.
Yeah,
I think Ecuador just completely went into second gear and was like, "Oh, this game's over."
Yeah,
and then half the crowd left, and it was just dead.
Yeah,
and you're scrolling through Twitter after about 25 minutes.
Yeah, you are. You are. Now look, there was a big moment in the game that has caused a bit of controversy online.
Yes.
The offside.
Especially on my Twitter feed. So there's the people out there, leave me alone. What do you make of it though? I have to say, when I seen it, first of all, I didn't think it was offside. I was kind of scratching my head going, how's that offside?
Yeah. Well, obviously, I think everybody had in the back of their minds when they first seen that. So obviously, around social media, there was allegation that Qatar FA or Qatari players had paid off Ecuadorians for a 1-0 result. But like, whether that's true or not, who knows? But I think everybody had seen that and had that in the back of their minds when that offside call was given, because VAR didn't spend a lot of time looking at that. It was a very quick decision at the time of seeing it. Owen, me and you were watching it, and we were like, yeah, no, that's not offside. How's that offside?
Yeah.
But looking back on it and having seen the evidence, yeah, it was the right decision.
That was the thing about it. It was like, what bit of it was offside?
Yes.
So a lot of people were like looking at Valencia was offside.
Yeah.
Was he like in front of the goalkeeper? All that. But it actually was the number 11 who was offside, and it was the correct decision.
It was. Oh.
But like, every time you get an offside decision with a player behind the keeper and a defender, the player behind the keeper and the defender behind the keeper, it's always controversial.
Yeah.
Because people always forget that the keeper is out in front, the defender becomes the de facto keeper. When you're looking at the pictures, I didn't even know they were looking for offside while watching it. I thought, why are they going to VAR? It may be a potential foul or something.
Yeah.
But obviously they've got this new technology, this Hawkeye thing, and it's ultimately what's giving offside. So if it works, it's offside. It's the right decision. It does hit off the Ecuadorian player's header, whether that's intentional or not doesn't make a difference. So he was marginally offside, so it probably was the right decision. But as you said, with the allegations, it just made everything seem a wee bit sketchy.
It was just one of them things. First goal of the new World Cup, and obviously the controversy that's surrounding this World Cup.
It was so early on too.
Ruled out to VAR, which of course we all know is controversial itself.
Well, like I said, that's the thing, you know, Owen, you alluded to it last week, when Qatar's name was drawn out of that envelope to host the World Cup. You know, everybody was kind of like, really? Yeah. You know, and look, again, this is not a slight on the people of Qatar or the country of Qatar. It's just, I think you could even see from the game last night, as we've all alluded to there's just no atmosphere.
Yeah.
It's dead, to be honest. I was so excited for this World Cup because the crowds always get involved and the crowds help to swing matches one way or another. Like, but as you said, Connor, 50 minutes into the game, half the stadium was empty.
Yeah, it was awful.
And anything I seen on social media afterwards was not about the game itself.
Yeah.
It was about Ecuador fans taking the mickey out of the Qatari
Yeah,
fans.
that's right.
You
That
know,
video.
chanting "We want beer,"
Beer,
or
yeah.
like did you see the video of the guy?
He's in the Qatari section.
He was doing the
Aye,
money,
the
making the
money
money
gesture.
sign
Yeah.
to the Qatari fans.
Yeah.
Like this is the thing, you know, when that's more talked about than the game of football itself,
It shows a lot, to be fair.
you know.
Yeah.
And this is the thing, like, are we going to see this throughout this World Cup?
Well, I don't know. Like, there is a lot of travelling fans. I don't know. It's just
It is very expensive as well.
yeah.
So a lot
it's
of
very
people couldn't
expensive,
afford
and the
it.
time of year. If it was the summer,
I know.
then I'd say there'd be a lot more away fans at this World Cup. But
Yeah.
you know, it's winter. It's people can't get off work.
Yeah.
I
People,
And
Christmas
it's
is
not
coming up.
Exactly. It's not a valuable excuse. Oh, here, Jeff can't come into work tomorrow. I've World Cup to go to. You know.
Yeah, I'm really buzzing to see a wee bit of Ecuador and Qatar
Yeah,
tomorrow.
you
Sorry
know
about
what?
that.
Literally though, but like I seen a thing there today. It was a short, like BBC, like 60-second news segment,
Yeah.
and it was the BBC had sent a journalist over there, obviously that's covering the World Cup for them, and showed the accommodation that he was staying in.
Awful.
Awful.
Yeah, seen it as well.
Oh.
Awful.
Was that the tents? Was it?
Yeah.
It's I don't even know what it is. It's like a
It's that-
plastic
it's that village.
box. Yeah, it's that
Yeah.
like fan
Yeah,
village.
Farm village.
It's like
yeah.
a plastic sweat box.
Yes.
I know.
And it's got like in that video it showed they turned the taps on for the water
It
for
was
the
brown.
shower, and it was
Brown.
brown.
Yeah.
Oh,
And they're paying thousands for that.
Oh,
What is it like 250 a night?
a
Something like
French
that,
guy, yeah,
Yeah,
a French
I've
guy.
seen that he walked out.
He walked out of
That's
it.
right.
He showed his bill, and it was like $3,500 US
Mad.
for like a week or 2
Yeah.
weeks in this place.
That's mad.
Wasn't it something like you had to book at least a week or
Yeah.
something?
Yeah.
Madness.
And like once again, like I don't want to come across like we're just having a go at the Qatari people
Yeah,
or
'cause
the
we're
country
not,
of
yeah.
Qatar, but it's just the circumstances in which this World Cup has come about. I think a lot of people are just bitter about it
Yeah.
and foul,
Yeah.
and I think everybody has every reason to be.
Yeah.
Especially, look, I don't want to sound. I'm trying to think of the best word for this. I don't want to sound ungrateful here because I love the World Cup and I love any football that we get to watch, but I'd much rather be watching the Premier League right now than
Yeah.
I think it is
Absolutely.
though, lads, as well, how out of their depth Qatar were in that game.
Yeah.
Because if
Yeah.
they were playing all right, you'd probably be like, oh,
Yeah.
you know, the atmosphere would probably be a bit better. But
Yeah.
they were completely out of their depth there. It was horrible performance.
Well, come here. What do you actually think about the U-turn in alcohol being allowed in the stadiums? Because I would say there's a lot of fans, especially UK fans, that went over there thinking, "Oh yeah, we'll have a great time. We can drink beer and all."
Yeah.
And they've probably bought that. They were probably skeptical about going before because you couldn't drink alcohol, and then you could, and now you can't. What do you think about that?
I mean, realistically, alcohol shouldn't be the be all and end all for a game of
Yes,
football.
but obviously, when you're watching a game, like you know yourself, it's good to watch it in the pub.
Fuck
With a
yeah,
bit of
I-
beer
no,
and a
look,
bit of atmosphere.
Don't get me wrong, and like anytime we go to Old Trafford, we'll have a few beers in the stadium.
Yeah.
But like, if somebody told me in the morning there's tickets to Man United, but you're not allowed to drink,
Yeah.
fine, no
Yeah.
problem.
Yeah.
Like, it shouldn't be the be all and end all of
Yeah.
going to watch a football match. I understand it from the social aspect of maybe after the game and looking to go out.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I doubt there's many pubs in Qatar.
Well, you're not allowed alcohol.
No, there's
Yeah,
only
yeah.
certain
There's
zones.
the
and
fan zones you can drink in.
Yeah.
And yeah,
I think hotels and stuff, there are certain.
but I'm
places
sure
you can
there's no like actual like pubs for
No,
people
no,
to go
no.
and sit
Aye,
down.
you're
in.
not going to Paddy Riley's Irish
Yeah,
bar.
exactly.
Aye.
You
There is
know?
one because I seen one of our old friends. He was in it. I seen an article on the Irish Mirror, and Dermot was in it.
Oh, was he? Yeah.
There's an Irish bar in Doha, and they were in it, which is pretty cool.
That's good.
Like I couldn't imagine that same sort of party feeling around
Aye.
this World
Yeah.
Cup. And again, I think that's just one of those things that you can understand why fans are a bit bitter then
Yeah.
because you
It
know
comes down to timing and all as
exactly. And if you're paying that kind of money, like you want the full World Cup experience,
Yeah.
and I don't think Qatar 2022 is going to be the full World Cup experience.
Yeah.
What about Ecuador, do you think? Can you count this game?
I think their opposition was
Do you
just
think
that
it's just
poor
like, yeah.
that you can't really judge. But I have to say, you know, I've seen Enter Valencia play in the Premier League before. I've never seen that type of centre forward
No,
performance
no.
from him.
well. No, he played well. Look, you can only beat what's in front of you.
Exactly.
I know.
Ecuador now have 3 points in that group. 3 points goes a long way in a World Cup group.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
It was a must-win game for them, and they won it.
Yeah,
You can only play what's in front of you.
Ecuador's now looking to nick something off Senegal
Yeah.
and Netherlands.
Yeah.
They could be looking at the last 16, like so.
And there's no reason why they couldn't.
That's the
No.
thing. If Holland go out and beat Senegal in an hour's time,
Yeah.
and they beat Ecuador, beat Senegal, it's them through.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's there for them now. Like,
So that'll do for the first game. We're going to move on now to the second game, which was we had literally just finished up 20 minutes ago.
Yeah, if
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
All that additional time.
Yeah,
Yeah.
24 minutes of additional time.
Literally,
119th minute penalty to make it 6-2. Comebacks on.
the listeners will be happy to know that whilst we were in our class there, our lecturer was laughing with us because we were sitting watching the World Cup.
Yeah.
And I think she just literally got to the stage
Just
where
accepted
She
it.
just accepted it.
Leona was just like, "Do you know what, boys?
Big ups, Leona, everybody.
Big ups,
by the way.
Leona." Yeah. She just said to us, "Is it going to be like this now every class he's come into?"
And what do we say?
Absolutely.
100%.
I thought England looked really, really good.
Yeah.
Obviously, you know, on Friday's episode, we had thought England were going to find it quite tricky, but look, I don't think Iran or major competition to England. I think they were always going to be sort of comfortable in that game, but they did look really, really good.
Yeah.
And I think we're going to introduce a new section to the podcast called Richie's Always Right, because I seem to just pick them out. I said Bellingham, I said Saka were going to have big World Cups, and well, they were both on the score sheet today.
Yeah, they were.
Yeah.
They were. They played very well. England just seemed to gel today, to be
Yeah.
honest. Some good movement. Harry Kane, even though he wasn't on the
Yeah.
score sheet, he played brilliant.
Yeah, his hold-up play was fantastic.
Yeah.
Once they got that first goal, lads, they just kicked on.
Yeah, the
Seemed
confidence came into them.
because they're a young team as well. The confidence, if they can
Yeah.
get the first goal, they're going to be hard to stop.
Yeah,
Also-
no, fair play to them.
Even, you know, a lot of people, you know, the talk around Ivan Toney not going to the World Cup. Obviously, we've found out earlier this week he's been charged
Yeah.
with those betting offences. But regardless of that, taking that out of it, I think Wilson did himself a favour today.
Did
and
done an assist.
Done an assist,
backed up,
Could have shot himself, but he was unselfish. He
Yeah.
scored it for him.
squared
like,
it. So, you know, I think he backed his place up in the
He
England
did,
squad
yeah. And
today.
he showed that he's an asset. He's something different off the bench.
Yeah.
When
Yeah.
Harry Kane comes
Yeah.
off.
Even
He's something
Rashford
different.
coming on and scoring.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
He
Wow.
He
That was always going to happen.
took 3 touches.
Oh.
And he scored a goal.
Oh, what a baller.
If you take the GOAT to the World Cup, of course he's going to score. Like, come on, Marcus Rashford scoring? That's old news, lad. It always happens.
No, fair play to them. They played well. Same situation with Ecuador. You can only beat what's in front of you.
Yeah, true.
So a good 3 points for England to start off.
The thing I actually liked about them today, though, not that I like England, like, but
Yeah.
the thing I liked about their football today, to reword that, they played on the front foot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They actually really took the game to Iran. You know, normally in these type of situations, Southgate still plays that backwards football no
Yes.
matter what.
5 at the back and
Yeah,
all
they're
that.
very
Yeah.
tentative
Yeah.
usually, but
Yeah.
they went for it today. and
They did.
Yeah, they went 4 at the back.
Because I remember, I think they played Kosovo. Was it Kosovo or someone? And this was I don't know if it was qualifying or a friendly just, but even in that game against Kosovo, they sat way, way back and played on the back foot and played way, way too deep. Whereas today, like I said last week, they have that technical ability to get the ball down and play football around the opposition, and they did that today, and they actually looked really, really good for large spells of the game. So, I'd say if you were an England fan, you'd probably be coming out of that stadium today
You'd be
thinking,
happy.
you know, we just scored 6 goals.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a perfect start for them. Like.
And they're efficient. They only had 7 shots on target. They got 6 goals from
Yeah.
it.
I
No,
know.
you
That's the thing. I
can't
saw
fault them.
the expected goals. It was like 2.14 to 1.72. Like, that's mad. But they dominated the game. That's 78% balls. So.
Yeah.
They limited Iran to few
Very
chances.
little.
It was only like Taremi's goal was a great finish.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like powered out the crossbar and then a penalty.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Iran really didn't have much going on in the game
Yeah.
for them. Like, so England just kind of dominated it completely.
Yeah. Well, as we say, we've literally just finished watching the game. Like, it's just happened. Connor Dorman showed me Jude Bellingham's heat map. And
Yeah.
Connor, wasn't he all over the pitch?
All over the place. Like,
Fair play to Jude Bellingham. 19 years of
they were
age
saying
on the world stage.
he was probably the man of the match.
Yeah.
Like, it's just
It's a great header.
unbelievable player.
Great header finish.
Yeah, it
a
was.
good goal.
Yeah.
I thought even just his all-round play, you know, the thing I worried about with England was I wasn't sure how Rice and Bellingham were going to play together because they'd played together once before, and maybe it's just because it was the first time they played with each other. They just didn't know each other's games,
Yeah.
but today they looked very comfortable in there. The two of them in possession of the ball were really, really good. Out of possession, they also shut Iran down
Yeah.
a lot. So I think that's an exciting partnership for England, realistically. And I think, you know, look, I had a bit of criticism about Rice a couple of weeks ago, but he looked very, very good today.
Yeah.
Composed on the ball. He's definitely a leader out there as well. So I think Saka as well, announcing himself on the
Great
world
finish,
stage.
his first one.
Great finish on the
You know, I
volley.
think announcing himself on the world stage like that is, I think he's been one of the best players in the Premier League this year. Just, I think Arsenal have such a talent on their hands there that he's so invaluable to everything that
He has
they
no
do.
fear. Like he just has no fear.
No, he doesn't, and it doesn't matter who
for
he plays against. Like he's, what Bukayo Saka you're getting, and I think today he was just phenomenal again. Like,
I do think though, like if England are to progress, Bellingham's huge. As you said, the heat map. I seen him against Germany in like a UEFA Nations League game, and he just changed the game. He's so on the front foot, plays those passes, and obviously Saka up top dangerous as well. But I think Bellingham's going to be key.
Well, I actually had a few messages this week from people saying to me, "Oh, that no, Saka's not better than Foden. Like, what are you smoking?"
Yeah.
They're both good though. Like
Look, don't get me wrong, they are both good, but I mean, I just that's just
Proof's
my
in the pudding.
opinion.
I think
it is.
Foden.
I think there's a reason Saka started today, like
Well,
because
I thought it was a bold strategy by Southgate to go with that formation, like to bring. He's used to his five at the back with Calvin Phillips and Declan Rice in front.
Yeah.
It was a bold strategy to bring in that extra attacker, and even Bellingham, who's a box-to-box midfielder.
And Mount.
For him, he brought in Mount up front. That's a bold strategy from a manager who's usually quite stuck in his ways.
well, that's it. Like, I mean, like even at that, you're completely correct in what you said there as well. Like Bellingham is not a Calvin Phillips. Like they're two completely different players. Phillips is the exact same as Rice. He will sit back, drop deep, drop in between defenders, and look to progressively pass. Bellingham's the complete opposite. Bellingham is just all action. He's
Front
all
forward.
action, front foot, win the ball back, progressive pass, break lines, and his dribbling ability is fantastic as well. So it was a bold strategy, but I think because it was Iran, they had a wee bit more freedom.
That's what I was going to say.
to try that.
Is Southgate going to keep doing that?
Exactly.
In the big games, say they play like a France in the quarterfinals, is he going to play like that? Or is he going to go back to Phillips and Rice?
See, that's what I would expect. I think whenever they do come
Five
to play
at the back.
the better opposition, he'll look to play Phillips and Rice. But I would just, you know what? Realistically, if this is going to be his last tournament in charge of England, go for it.
Yeah.
That's the thing. Why doesn't he just go for it?
You know, what have you got to lose?
I think he'd be a happy man tonight because he had Bukayo Saka scoring, Sterling.
Yeah.
So that was his two wingers of choice.
Yeah.
He replaced them with Rashford and Grealish. Both of them scored.
Yeah.
He replaced his talisman up front, Harry Kane, who had 2 assists, with Callum Wilson, who got an assist.
Yeah.
England's depth looks a lot better than we probably initially thought. Like, look, I know we've been saying it's Iran, it's not the best opposition they can face. But from the game we've seen, Owen, are they the cream of the cream?
I wouldn't quite go as far yet. Now, I do have them in the sweepstakes, so I wouldn't mind them being the cream of the cream. Get a bit of money in the back pocket. Look, at Iran were very poor.
Yeah.
But as it goes back, you can, as you said a couple of times today, you can only beat what's out in front of you.
Yes.
And England beat them convincingly.
They did.
There are a lot sterner tests to come. I do think with the performance they put on today, we were questioning there last week. You didn't even think to get out of that group.
No.
I thought they would top it, but it'd be tight.
Yeah.
I think with the performance they put in there today, they really showed that they are clear favourites to top that group. And it also makes tonight's game with Wales and USA
Yeah, it's a huge
massive.
game. Yeah.
Because maybe Iran can lift themselves, but it's going to be very hard to lift yourselves from a 6-1 defeat like that.
Yeah.
So those two teams are now looking at tonight's the game. If Wales and America, if they win tonight, they have a clear run, beat Iran, and they're through.
Yeah. Well, look,
That's what
I'm
they're
going to
looking
stick
at.
with my group predictions. I do. I still think, even after that performance, I still think England won't get out of that group. Obviously, they probably will.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just have a gut feeling.
Well, the next 2 games are going to be
Next
more
2 games are
difficult.
huge.
They're going to be more difficult.
Yeah,
Especially
next
with
2
Wales,
games
there's a bit of a
are huge.
rivalry there.
I think
Probably
we'll
be a tight
see
game.
tonight the level of both Wales and USA.
I actually
USA
think I think that game's going to be quite tight tonight.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, it's
I think it's
alright.
a bigger game.
USA is
I think
kind of
it's
one of
a
those
bigger game.
teams you just don't know what to expect.
Yeah.
They
No.
could be
They could be
class,
unreal, but they
or
could be mediocre.
Yeah.
Like you
Yeah.
just don't
There's
know.
like
There's some
no in
weird players,
between.
though.
They do.
And like with Wales, like this is a massive tournament for Wales. Like the Welsh people are gonna be absolutely behind their team.
They're buzzing for it.
They're absolutely
First
buzzing for
tournament,
it.
Yeah.
first World Cup since 1950 or something.
Did
like
any
that.
of you see? It was on a league of their own. What do you call them?
Oh yes.
Sheen.
Yes, Michael Sheen.
That's
He
right.
done a speech that he said he's going to deliver to the Welsh players before
that's
their
class.
game. Was it their first game or their game against England? I can't remember.
Yeah.
But it was fantastic.
Yeah.
He had everybody in the studio of League of Their Own going wild. So imagine how that would hype up 11 proud Welshmen before they go out into the World Cup. Oh, eyeballs into watch.
Yeah.
I'm getting goosebumps.
That man had me ready to that man had me ready to run through a wall.
Oh my God, lad! I never felt more Welsh. I swear to God, not a bit of Welsh in me. What I do want to say,
Maybe a Ginster's pie, lad. but-
maybe not there, but that's about the height of it. What about Maguire? I thought Maguire played well in his. What did he get? 67, 70 minutes or so.
He got an assist as well.
Got an assist as well, and then he came off.
Yeah.
Connor Cody's behind him, isn't he?
No,
Or who else would
no,
be there?
Eric
No,
Dyer.
Did Eric Dyer come
Eric
on?
Dyer
Yeah.
He
came on for
for
him. Yeah.
I don't know, Maguire's class for England, like, do you know what I mean? Do you think if
But he-
that is
He had an injury though as well.
That's
didn't
what I'm
he?
saying, if
Head,
that
I think it
is
might have been. I'm not too sure. what it
concussion or
was.
something,
Yeah.
wasn't it? If that is going on for the next couple of games, maybe until out of the group stage, could that be a problem for England?
Yeah, you would probably have to say so for like as little as I rate Harry Maguire, to be completely honest. Like for whatever reason, when he pulls on an England shirt, he performs,
Yeah.
which is really annoying as a Man United fan because why can't you do the same for my football club?
100%.
But definitely, I think, you know, look, he's a massive leader in that England side, and realistically, if they have hopes of going deep in the competition, which they should do, I think Maguire is probably an integral part of that.
Did you see the training video? He looked like
Yeah, the roulette.
Ronaldinho.
Oh,
He brought the
Ronaldinho.
five-star
fair
Yeah.
play to him. Fix our striker crisis.
Where's that confidence when he's playing for United?
I know, well.
You know.
I said it last week, and I stand by it. I do worry for England's centre backs. I think they're weak in that position, and if this is an issue that's going to be affecting Maguire, put him out for a week, 2 weeks maybe, then it could be an issue for England. I don't believe Connor Cody and Eric Dyer are top class centre backs, and when they're going up against the Wales, the likes of Vokes in there and Kiefer Moore, like big strong men who are going to bully centre backs, it might come back to hurt them.
Yeah.
Yeah, it could be.
Never know.
Okay, so we're moving on to our new segment here for this episode. We are calling this the World Cup Wonders section, so I'll run through it for you boys. Basically, to the listeners at home, what we did was we each took 3 players each throughout World Cup history, and we're just going to have a little talk of them. We have excluded Messi and Ronaldo from this conversation because, I mean, we could talk all day about Messi and Ronaldo, really.
Yeah.
So we've decided to go for 3 legends of World Cup history.
Yeah.
And what we're going to do is each of us is going to take one, and once we've finished talking about that player, we're going to call them a World Cup hero or zero.
Yeah.
So thumbs up, thumbs down for that player. So
And obviously at home, we want you to decide
for
yourselves.
yourselves, yeah, if you think that they're World Cup heroes or not. So I'll lead us off. The first player I've decided to choose is a player that my granda spoke to me so heavily about when I was younger. When I used to run about in my Ronaldo shirts for Man United, my granda used to say to me, "Oh, you've never seen Johan Cruyff play?" I was like, "Who?" At 8 years of age, didn't know who he was talking about. But as I've got older, and I've been able to watch more sort of famous football clips and stuff, like Cruyff was always a player that just intrigued me completely. So I'll read you out some of the research that I have here on Cruyff, and you can decide for yourselves whether he's World Cup hero or zero.
Yeah.
So for Holland, I'm focusing specifically on his international career here. I know, like, his club career was absolutely phenomenal, but this is just his career for the Netherlands. He made 48 international appearances, scoring 33 goals. He has won 3 Ballon d'Ors. He was in he won the 1974 World Cup Golden Ball, and in the year 1999 he was voted the European Player of the Century, and he was only second behind Pelé in the World Player of the Century. He was included in the World Cup Team of the Century in 1998, starting up front with Pelé. When he scored in a match for Holland, they never lost the game. I think that's a pretty telling stat. That's a captain that dragged his team through results. He is to put on the flip side of that though, he's actually the first Dutch international player to ever receive a red card.
Really?
Yeah, just a wee
Mad,
weird stat there for you. In the 1974 World Cup, he is most renowned for scoring those 2 famous goals in the quarter-final against Argentina, the 2 incredible solo goals that just showed his absolute footballing brilliance.
Yeah, it's class.
One of those goals being the infamous birth of the Cruyff turn. And he is renowned then for being the man that created total football.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, 1974 World Cup.
My granda tells me all the time, in his eyes, he's the greatest footballer they've ever lived. Because my granda said he got to grow up watching Johan Cruyff. And to him, the same way that Messi and Ronaldo were idolised in our generation, the number 14 on the back of the shirt, the famous Dutch shirt, everyone was running around with it. Thierry Henry's openly said he wore the number 14 after.
Jesse Lingard.
I think it's high credit, when Henry says that, he came from a country where football, there were so many massive footballers, but yet he went to Holland and idolised Johan Cruyff.
Mm-hmm.
To me, he's an obvious World Cup hero. Even though he did only play in 2.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And he didn't play in the 78 World Cup because of a kidnapping attempt that had happened on his family a year previous when he was playing for Barcelona.
Crazy.
And the quote he said was, you have to be 200% to play. You have to be mentally 200% to play in a World Cup. And right now, I'm just not there. It was unfortunate. In 74, they were beaten in the final. They played in 78, they were runners-up as well. They played Argentina in the final. And many people have said if Cruyff had played in that World Cup,
They'd have won it.
Holland would have won the World Cup that year. So just a real shame. But a man that had an absolutely wonderful career.
Yeah,
To me, he's an
course.
obvious hero.
Yeah.
100% hero.
Yeah.
No arguments.
No
there.
argument.
Yeah.
He's a World Cup hero.
As you said, he only played in 2 World Cups, but he made his mark.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even the Cruyff turn, like today,
Yeah.
is still remembered.
Yeah.
So, yeah,
And it's still
100%.
called the Cruyff.
The
Turn.
Cruyff
Still the
turn.
Cruyff
That's
turn.
never changed.
Yeah.
Never will.
Yeah, no. Johan Cruyff, World Cup
Cup
hero.
World Cup hero. Yeah.
So I'm gonna go now, and I have chosen a player who is a bit of a cult hero. Obviously, I think he's a World Cup hero. I'll get your take on it, and that's Diego Forlan of Uruguay.
Serious player.
So Forlan is a historic player in football, let alone the World Cup. He started his career at Independiente before moving to Manchester United in 2002. He didn't play the best at United, but he still won a Premier League and an FA Cup because obviously it was a dominant era for United. He then went to Spain where he dominated Spanish football, and he scored 128 goals in 240 appearances between Villarreal and Atletico Madrid. After leaving Spain, he moved to Inter Milan before moving to a host of other clubs before retiring in 2018. So on the international stage, of course we're talking about the World Cup, Forlan was the first ever player to reach 100 caps for Uruguay. In 2011, he won the Copa America with Uruguay, and he dragged his team to that victory. And he was Uruguay's top goal scorer ever, before Suarez overtook him in the same tournament. From a World Cup standpoint, Forlan scored his first World Cup goal in 2002 against Senegal in a 3-3 game in the group stage. In 2006, Uruguay didn't qualify for the World Cup, so obviously he didn't play there. But at the age of 31, he returned to the World Cup, and with a bang, in 2010. He became the master of the infamous Jubilani ball,
Yeah.
scoring a host of absolutely worldly goals. It's hard to pick his best goal from that World Cup, but I would say it was either the long ranger against South Africa or that free kick against Ghana. Incredible.
Serious.
Yeah, 100%.
Forlan guided his team to a third place finish in that World Cup, which, in my opinion, was overachieving for Uruguay.
Yeah.
Especially considering the other teams that were in that World Cup.
Yeah.
And he was awarded the Golden Ball, so he was named the best player of the World Cup that year. To me, that solidifies him as a World Cup hero.
You'd probably say anybody that wins the Golden Ball
Yeah.
is definitely a World Cup hero. And I think
But
he
never
is-
won the World Cup.
But never, look,
No.
but I don't think he had to.
Yeah.
I think he already had his legacy cemented.
Yeah.
I think, look, we've grown up in an era where we've been very lucky that we've seen Forlan, Suarez and Cavani
Yeah.
all get to play, and now we have Darwin Núñez coming up as well.
Yeah.
But he's the original Uruguayan.
Yeah.
He's the guy that all the top Uruguayan strikers and all
Looked
top
up to.
Uruguayan players look up to. So can you really say that he's not a World Cup hero?
Yeah.
I think he has to be.
Has to be.
Has to be, like.
Yeah. So what are we thinking?
Yeah, I'd say hero. Because like you can't talk about the World Cup 2010 without talking about him.
Without talking about
Yeah.
Diego Forlan.
They took it
Owen?
over.
So I've went obviously. I've went for one of the obvious players, but his argument made us says he's the best footballer he's ever seen.
Yeah.
Like he says Messi and Ronaldo are great, but they're not on the level of this guy, and that's Diego Maradona. So obviously Maradona's one of the best players to ever play. He played in 3 World Cups for Argentina. He played in 4. He captained them in 3. He won the World Cup in 1986, scoring 5 goals and assisting 5 goals in that tournament. He scored both the goals in their semi-final win over Belgium. He scored 2 goals in the quarter-final against England, one of the most infamous goals of all time, and one of the greatest goals of all time. I think that just encapsulates the greatness of Diego Maradona. He can go out and do one of the most outrageous things ever done with football and beat the entire English team, but he's sneaky. He'll win at all costs, and if he gets away with it, he gets away with it. He also, in that 1996 final, he assisted the winner in the 3-2 win over West Germany. He then took them to the final again in 1990, scoring the decisive penalty against Italy in the semi-final. And in total, he played in 21 World Cup matches, scored 8 goals, and got 8 assists. Like, if that's not a World Cup hero, I don't know what is.
I would have to agree with you.
Oh, 100%.
Again, like, Messi's idol is Maradona.
Yeah,
And
you can't not say it.
I put him at like the top of all time.
Yeah.
do you know the only thing that would maybe mar Maradona's career was when he tested
94.
positive for the drugs.
USA, yeah.
That's the only like black mark
After he scored the goal and then the camera.
Yeah.
that you would put against Maradona. But like in terms of footballing ability, like
Well, 86, like they said, he almost carried them to the World Cup. That's how good he was.
Yeah.
So
Nobody
definitely.
better ever with the ball at their feet, in my opinion. With the ball at your feet, Diego Maradona could have done anything. The only second close to him, in my opinion, is Lionel Messi.
yeah,
Like, imagine him in today's game. Like, you see these old videos, he's destroying teams and they're kicking the life out of him.
Yeah.
So just imagine how good he'd be today.
yeah.
No.
Like,
Another level.
in Italia 90, the semi-final was in Naples, and he had such a profound impact at his time at Napoli that half the Italian crowd was cheering for Maradona in Argentina against their own country in a World Cup semi-final.
Yeah,
that's the impact he had.
mad.
Yeah.
It is. It is. I think obvious
Hero.
World Cup hero.
hero. Connor Dorman.
Right, guys. So I went for the original Ronaldo, the R9. I was watching the documentary and it was unbelievable. He's 15 goals and 19 appearances in the World Cup. He's won 2 World Cups. Well, the first one when he was 17. He never played a minute, but he was still there, still counts. 98, he was 4 goals, 7 games. And then he had the convulsive fit right before the game. So they didn't know whether he could play or not. And he begged the manager, he played. And they said he was like sleepwalking, he just wasn't there.
Yeah.
And that didn't deter him. He had so many injuries between, I think it was 99 and 2001. He had so many injuries. He ruptured his tendon on his knee, and he came back 6 minutes, and he completely ruptured his knee cap. So, and the physio said it was one of the worst footballing injuries he's ever seen. But he always had that dream of getting back for the World Cup. So in 2002, he was just on another level. He never played a game in qualifying. He just came in, and this quotes here: without Ronaldo, Brazil were just a shambles. They were very fortunate to make the tournament, but with him, they were not on another level. He got 8 goals, golden boot. He scored in every game except for against England, and Riley was given the player of the tournament, and he also won World Player of the Year that year and the Ballon d'Or. So in his career, he played 98 caps, 62 goals. He got a golden boot, 2 All-Stars, silver ball, and then at the time in 2006 he went to the World Cup. He scored 10 goals in 15 games, and his fitness was questioned in the first 2 games. He didn't score a goal, and then against Japan he got 2, and he scored against Guyana. He still showed his class. He probably wasn't at peak fitness at that stage, but he would go on to break Jared Muller's record, which was which has been broken by Klose, obviously.
Yeah.
But I just don't think you can question how good of a player he was. In a team full of greats, he was the star man, and 98 was his motivation. Like Maldini said, him and Diego Maradona were the 2 best players he ever played against. So he's definitely right up there as one of the best to ever do it.
Winning 2 World Cups. If you're not a World Cup hero, having won 2 World Cups, there's something wrong.
There's very few people who've done it.
Yeah. No, fair play now. I think it was one of them careers. Obviously, he had all the talent in the world,
Yeah.
and it was just marred
Injuries.
with injuries.
Even in
Unfortunately,
the final, he scored 2 goals, man of the match.
Yeah.
You know, big
Yeah.
game player as well.
So many people say like if without the injuries, he probably would be the best player of all time.
yeah,
Yeah.
Like, and that includes Messi and Ronaldo in that
Mhm.
conversation as well. Yeah, just some of the goals he scored, like he was just a joy to watch, really.
Yeah,
like
he
you
was.
know, and like unfortunately, I didn't really get to see a whole pile of him growing up,
Same.
because he was just so injury prone. But like people said, he was an absolute phenom, and
Yeah.
like in terms of like icons of football, he's definitely like an icon of football. Like you know, you think of the hairstyles and all,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
the boots, even like. Do you remember his like special like T90 boots or
I know.
or was it the Mercurials? He was the first player to get his own like personalized like
Yeah,
collection of boots.
incredible.
Like
Yeah.
he was bigger
Iconic.
than football.
yeah, he
Yeah.
was. He had the influence that we're used to seeing with Cristiano and Messi at the moment. He had that influence.
It was
Yeah.
even, I just think it was just the way he overcame them injuries as well.
Yeah,
You know, he went back to Brazil, he worked hard, and
showed his mentality.
mentality
Yeah.
just on another level.
Yeah.
You know.
So obvious.
Obvious World Cup
Obvious
hero.
World Cup hero.
Yeah,
The second player I've gone for, boys, then is somebody who's actually still playing football at the minute, but I think he's probably going to be winding down now, either at the end of this year or possibly next year. The little midfield maestro, Andres Iniesta. So he has made 131 international appearances for Spain, scoring 13 goals. He's a graduate, obviously, from the La Masia Academy and played in arguably the greatest club team that we've ever seen. He was an integral part of possibly the greatest midfield trio of all time, both for club and for country. He has won 3 major international tournaments in a row, including the World Cup, and scored the only goal in the 2010 World Cup final. He was in the 2010 World Cup team of the tournament, and I know this is very World Cup based, but I thought this was interesting to add. He was also the Euro 2012 finals man of the match against Italy when they absolutely smashed them.
4-0, yeah.
Yeah. Iniesta has been named in the FIFA World Pro 11 9 times. He was chosen in the UEFA Team of the Year on 6 different occasions. He has been named in the all-time UEFA Euros 11. He won UEFA's Best Player in Europe award in 2012. He was named the world's best playmaker in 2012 and in 2013. And he was only runner-up to Lionel Messi for the 2010 Ballon d'Or and achieved 3rd place as well in 2012. He is the 4th most capped Spaniard of all time, and any interview I've heard with any major manager that got to work with Iniesta has said, yes, Xavi had the ability to ping those passes and play balls that nobody else could see. Busquets, yes, was the workhorse and so underappreciated for what he did. But so many people say out of that midfield trio, Iniesta was the best. He had the ability to track back, the ability to go forward, he could score goals, he could assist. His dribbling is famous. Again, he has a skill move named after him as well, La Croqueta. That quick switch from the left foot to the right foot to take it round somebody. Just an awesome player on his day, really, and I think has to be a World Cup hero.
Yeah,
I think if you win the World Cup for your country,
yeah.
Yeah. If you score the winning goal in the World Cup
Yeah.
final,
you're a hero.
that's
Yeah.
the pinnacle. You can't get any better than that.
No,
It's hard to. I don't think Iniesta is as appreciated as he should be as well.
I don't think he is
No.
either.
Like
Yeah.
he was part of one of that Spanish team's one of the great teams.
Yeah.
3
Yeah.
major trophies in a row. He's part of that Barcelona team. He's unbelievable.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
He almost just gets lost in the shuffle a wee bit.
Yeah.
He does. When people talk about the great midfielders, they usually stick to just Premier League.
Yeah.
Like nobody, and they always say, always in the argument, it's always, oh, obviously Xavi and Iniesta. Well, tell me why.
Yeah.
Xavi and Iniesta deserve to be talked about. Like everybody talks about Vieira and Keane and all these other players.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
He was so
World Cup
versatile as
hero.
well. He could play on the wing as well. He was
That's
such
right.
a good player.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He was such
And
a
he's
good
still
player.
playing now.
Still
Yeah,
at the
I know.
age of 38.
Shows he's still got the hunger for football.
Yeah,
Yeah.
still playing.
Yeah.
Yes, it may be the Japanese league, but he's still doing his thing. Like,
Yeah, he's still playing football.
Yeah,
No,
well, I think-
Iniesta
Definite hero.
Yeah.
World Cup
has to be a World Cup hero.
yeah,
Yeah, I think we're all in agreement there as well.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so for me, second player, I've also went for a current player. This one could cause you might agree. I've went for I'm going to let you guess who I've went for. So, luminous gloves, frizzy hair, and a headband. Who else could it be but Mexico's Guillermo Ochoa. So this man is a cult hero, but in my opinion, a World Cup legend. He is, of course, Guillermo Ochoa. So Ochoa this year is going to the World Cup of Mexico. It'll be his 5th World Cup, and he's one of only 8 players to have ever played in 5. To have ever been named in a squad in 5 World Cups. And the other 3, there's 3 others in this World Cup that is joining that club, and that's Messi, Ronaldo, and his Mexico teammate Andres Guardado.
Guardado.
Yeah. So, despite being named in the 2006 and 2010 World Cup squads, he never made an appearance for Mexico, which is quite surprising. In fact, Guillermo Ochoa's only ever made 8 appearances in the World Cup. It seems like he's made a lot more.
Yeah.
But he's only made 8.
I know.
So, with experiences in France and Spain under his belt at club level, he took his chance in his first World Cup game in 2014. He pulled off, in his first game, he got a clean sheet against Cameroon. But what he's most known for in that World Cup is his acrobatic ability and his string of outstanding saves against Brazil, which was star-studded in 2014. It had Neymar, it had Willian, it had Oscar in his peak. So a lot of people after that, obviously a lot of rumours came in for Guillermo Ochoa. I remember him being linked with like Arsenal and Liverpool and stuff. Moving on to 2018. Even in 2014, he led Mexico to the round of 16 where they were beat by the Netherlands and put out by 1 penalty in late. In
The Robin, was it the Robin dive,
Yeah.
wasn't it? Yeah, I
Late.
remember that one.
Dubious decision.
Yeah, I would have said that.
So a lot of people do think Mexico were robbed, but that's not what I'm
I think
talking
they were 1-0 up maybe in like the 89th minute or something.
Yeah,
and then they got the
it was a
penalty,
late
and it
penalty.
just- yeah.
And then, in 2018, it was a case of a new World Cup, but the same Guillermo Ochoa. He pulled off 25 saves in just 4 games.
That's madness.
25 saves. He got the same amount of saves as Thibaut Courtois in that World Cup, and he played a lot more games than 4.
Yeah.
But then again, Mexico were once again defeated at the hands of Brazil. So Brazil are just Mexico's dark horse team.
Yeah.
Will we see Ochoa pull off the heroics once again in Qatar? I'm hoping so, and I just think cult hero, World Cup legend.
Definitely, the cult hero status can't be called into question. He is just that cult hero goalkeeper. However, I think the fact that he's only played 8 World Cup games would make me.
But if I hadn't have told you that, if you didn't know that,
But he hasn't
and
got
you
past.
thought it, because you, as I did before I read that, I thought he had played a lot
Yeah.
more.
Yeah.
No, I agree with that, but it's like he hasn't even got past the last 16.
Yeah, like I
It's
was
very hard.
That was the point I was
yeah.
going to move on to next. Like if Mexico were just a round of 16 team, like
Yeah.
I think if he had maybe played in like a World Cup semi final.
But he has a chance maybe this year if they could get a good run, maybe quarter, semi final, which I don't see them happening. But it's 8 games, as you say, is not too little.
Look, don't get me wrong, Mexican cult hero absolutely can't be called into question. However, World Cup hero, I'm gonna have to say no.
Wow.
I do remember that game against Brazil though, and he just refused to be beaten.
Yeah.
Like Mexico were on the ropes, and Ochoa just refused.
Yeah.
Eventually, he was beaten, but the performance he put in that night was outrageous.
Yeah.
So I agree with Eoghan. So
Thank you very much.
you got one.
You got one, lad.
Connor Dorman, no.
No. A cult hero, but not a World Cup hero.
Why?
He hasn't played, as Connor was saying there, he hasn't played enough games, and he hasn't even made it past the last 16.
Yeah, but if I hadn't
He's played in
told
2
you,
World Cups as well.
Yeah, like picked for 5,
know,
but only played in
picked for 4.
2010, 2014, and
yeah,
like
14, 18, and then he played this
14,
one.
18. Yeah.
like I don't know.
I just don't think so. No.
And it's funny, like
But you said Cruyff when he played in 2.
yeah, but Christ,
Cruyff got
lad.
the
Yeah,
Cruyff got the 2.
No,
Cruyff
no,
got
I'm not denying Cruyff's ability, but he never won a World Cup, and
he
he
got
only
to the
played in 2 World Cups.
He got to the World Cup final,
So,
semi-final.
he didn't win
performed. How many scored 2 goals in the semi-final?
Yeah,
That was another level.
So he was the best loser then.
You could say that. Well, there's other players that are World Cup
Ah,
heroes.
do you
that
know what,
haven't-
guys? Let's move on.
He's taking it personally.
I am taking it personally. Guillermo Ochoa.
well, at least Cruyff got past the round of 16.
Ah, I will Netherlands team, not Mexico.
You might have swore.
I'll bite my tongue, boys. Let's move on. So he's not a World Cup hero. Owen.
Right. Well, I'm going quite left field. and I may or may not have slightly agreed before in the last one to try and get at least one person to agree with me here. I'm going Roger Milla from Cameroon.
Yes, lad.
A legend. of a
Yes,
man.
lad.
Roger Milla played 102 games for Cameroon. He only scored 28 goals, but he saved his best appearances for the World Cup. He's played in 3. His first one was in 1982. He scored once against Italy as Cameroon drew all their games, which is quite good for Cameroon at the time when they didn't even have a professional league and most of their players were amateur. He then was missing for an 8-year gap between World Cups until Italia 90 when he made the world his oyster. He was involved in one of the biggest World Cup upsets when Cameroon beat Argentina 1-0 in the opening round of Italia 90, the defending champions, the likes of Maradona playing, and Cameroon beat them with 9 men. He then scored twice against Romania to secure Cameroon's first ever qualification for the knockout rounds. So everybody thought, right, Cameroon, they've had their day, they're going out the next round. Nope. He scored twice as they beat Colombia 2-1 in extra time to go to the World Cup quarter final against England. And he set up 2 goals as Cameroon were leading 2-1 with 7 minutes to go until Gary Lineker got a dubious penalty decision to slot it in 2-2, and then in extra time another dubious penalty decision to England eventually won that game 3-2. But that man took Cameroon to a World Cup quarter final, and everybody remembers the corner flag dance.
Yeah.
Yeah.
His final appearance in the World Cup came in 1994, and while it didn't go all the plan for Cameroon, they're knocked out in the groups, he did score one more World Cup goal in a 6-1 defeat to Russia. But overall, he played in 10 World Cups, had 5 goals, and he had 3 assists. He was African Player of the Year twice. He won 2 African Cup of Nations, and that man is a World Cup hero.
He is. Fully agree.
Yeah.
Go on, Connor.
Go on.
Again, I just think he's like an Ochoa. Like, I absolutely agree. Like, some of the, like, on all the wee World Cup DVDs you used to get, like, from like the Sunday papers and all,
We dance.
like, Roger Milla was one of those players. Like, some of the goals he scored were absolutely outrageous. Like, and the corner flag, the bandero dance,
Yeah.
like, everybody loved it. Like, but again, look, at least he did something better than Ochoa. He took his team past the round of 16, at least.
Yeah, but he was 38
Oh,
years of
mate,
age when he
I
done
know.
this.
Yes, which is fair enough. Again, look, I think he's an absolute Cameroonian icon, and he's definitely a player that a lot of, you know, the likes of Choupo-Moting and stuff look up to now. But to say that he's a World Cup hero, I don't know. I just don't know.
But do you not think we're saying World Cup hero for obvious World Cup heroes? Like
Yeah.
R9 and Maradona and all, obviously.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, these are players who, I'm saying Ochoa is a World Cup hero when you're saying Roger Milla is a World Cup hero because of their performances in the World Cup. And they have performed phenomenally in the World Cup. I don't care about Ochoa playing for Standard Liège in Belgium. That doesn't bother me. He played phenomenal in the World Cup. Roger Milla, phenomenal in the World Cup. I don't know.
I would argue that taking Cameroon to a World Cup quarterfinals and
Yeah.
within 7 minutes of a World Cup semi-final
Yeah,
is
I
a
agree.
greater achievement than taking the Netherlands to a final.
No, I do
Because
think
the Netherlands,
It's the Netherlands.
they've been to a lot of finals.
Yeah.
I do think he
If
is.
they won one, that would be great. But they haven't won one yet.
I think he is
But
a hero.
again,
I think
look,
he is a hero.
the only thing I would say is just, like, I absolutely agree with you. Like, those players in the World Cup have been phenomenal. And yes, I understand what you're saying. It's easier to do it with the Netherlands, but if you're the star player in that side, then you're one of the best. Like, it's hard not to be a World Cup hero and one of the best players in the world. Do you know what I mean?
I'm not
No,
arguing,
I'm
arguing
not
Cruyff
doubting
isn't
his
one.
ability. I think he's probably the best player ever, or one of them at least. I just think it's hard to judge lesser known players on their careers rather than their World Cup performances.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like-
No, I get what you're saying there. Yeah.
I know he's made 8 appearances. Ochoa, I'm talking about. I know he's made 8 appearances, but like, he made 8 great appearances. They're like, every one of them appearances is near enough memorable. Do
Yeah.
you know what I mean? I just think this should be judged on their World Cup ability, not
Yeah.
their career.
But do you know that, like, do you know why sometimes when you talk about players, like, I'm not going to lie, until Owen you said Milla, I haven't heard of Milla in years.
Yeah.
Like, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
He's no more for the dance.
yeah.
Well, yeah.
Do you, like, do you know what I mean? It's like, it's
But Milla was only there because the president of Cameroon said he had to go.
Right.
He was retired, and the president of Cameroon says Roger Milla is going to the World Cup.
Is this 94?
No, this is 90.
This is 90.
He was already retired, and he scored 4 goals in that tournament and got 2 assists.
Yeah.
Like, he had 6 goal involvements
Yeah.
from a 38-year-old striker.
Yeah, it's insane. Insane. Well,
Like-
I'm saying World Cup hero.
I'll give him hero.
And he didn't play over an hour in any of those games.
Yeah, it's insane.
I'll give him hero. Because
Well, look, he is having me 3-1, like,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah. Well, Conor Dorman.
So my second one is Zinedine Zidane, Golden Ball winner, 2-time All-Star. He had 12 appearances in the World Cup. Probably most known for his headbutt, but in '98 he didn't have a good tournament. He was more like a supporting role, but in the final, when the big players step up, the heroes, that's what he done. He scored 2 goals. He dictated the play. Ballon d'Or winner in '98 as well. But then 2002, I think it showed how big of a miss he was for France because he was injured and they collapsed. They didn't even score a goal. They were one of the worst World Cup winners. You know, they're defending it.
Yeah.
They were brutal. And then he came back 2006 and he came out of retirement. And at 34, his performances, I'd say against Spain, he was exceptional. But that performance against Brazil was on another level. He got man of the match. He set up Henry's goal, but he just looked unbelievable. He's playing on a pitch with like Ronaldo, Kaká, Ronaldinho, but he was the man. And at 34 to do that, and he was. I seen actually an article today. He was injured during that game, so it just shows you how talented he was. He's just a class, his elegance. He was just unbelievable. And then he scored against Portugal, and then he scored again in the final, but obviously headbutted the Italian player.
Materazzi.
Even like the confidence in the final to do the Panica penalty
Penalty.
and off the crossbar on the line.
Yeah.
I think he is a hero. If he had stayed on the pitch and they'd won that game, I think he could have went down top 3, maybe all time World Cup heroes. But the man has scored. He's tied, but he has most World Cup final goals with 3. So I just think he's one of the best ever to do it in the World Cup and one of the best midfielders of all time.
You can't argue with easy.
Yeah,
Like,
no, it's
No, you can't.
well, like if you're the top goal scorer in World Cup finals,
Yeah,
it's an obvious choice.
yeah, it's an easy one. Easy one. That's.
Okay, so my last player then that I've looked at is the Italian maestro. He was actually played more as a secondary striker than a striker. His name is Roberto Baggio. So he made 56 international appearances. He scored 27 goals for Italy, majority of them coming at the World Cup. Baggio, he is widely regarded as one of the greatest players of all time. So in the year 1999, he came 4th in the FIFA Player of the Century rankings, and he was chosen on the FIFA World Cup Dream Team in 2002. In '93, he was named as FIFA's Player of the Year, and he won the Ballon d'Or that year as well. In 2004, he was named by Pelé in the FIFA 100's lists of greatest living players at that time. And he is the joint 4th highest scoring Italian. Do you know who he's joint with? Alessandro Del Piero. I think that puts him on that insanely high level. So he starred in the Italian team that finished 3rd in the 1990 World Cup, scoring twice throughout that tournament. At the 94 World Cup, he led Italy to the final. A lot of people argue single-handedly, scoring 5 goals, receiving the World Cup silver ball, and he was named in that World Cup's All-Star team. At the 1998 World Cup, he scored twice before Italy were eliminated then by the eventual champions France in the quarterfinals. But Baggio is the only Italian to score in 3 World Cups, and with 9 goals, he holds the record for the most goals scored in a World Cup tournament for Italy, alongside Paolo Rossi and Christian Vieri. So to me, Roberto Baggio is the original Italian striker and is an obvious World Cup hero.
The only thing I'll say about Baggio, and you knew it was coming, Connor, the penalty.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is unfortunately his legacy.
Yeah.
Like, you've heard of him talking about it recently.
Yeah.
And how much that affected him. Obviously, he is a World Cup hero. He was outrageous for Italy.
Yeah.
Like, as you said, he almost single-handedly dragged that Italian team to that final.
Mm-hmm.
But he will always be remembered for that miss. And it's cruel twist of fate, but that's just how it goes
It
sometimes.
is, yeah. It is.
That's it.
It's like you said though, lad. Like football is a results business at the end of the day,
yeah.
and like it is the one thing he's always going to be remembered for.
Yeah.
You know that penalty.
It's
miss.
like Zidane with a headbutt. It's just that's it. Like
That's it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it overshadows all the other
I know,
achievements,
it's just-
unfortunately.
yeah.
Yeah.
as you said, all them achievements, but he's just remembered for that. That's
Yeah.
I think to be the only Italian to score at 3 World Cups,
Yeah.
no, he's a definite hero.
I think it just has to put him in that
100%,
bracket.
Oh, yeah.
No, I agree.
But just him and Deanna Ross missing penalties at USA.
Yeah, definite hero.
Yeah.
So moving on to my third choice, and there's not going to be much discussion about this. This is my easy choice. It's Miroslav Klose. Klose is the best performing player in World Cup history. He has the most goals with 16. A legend at both club and international stage. For club, Klose scored 212 goals in 529 club games. And more impressively, for Germany, he scored 71 goals in 137 games, which is incredible. Because I don't know if you feel the same, but I remember, and we talked about it there last week with Germany and Spain now, that they never really had that recognised powerhouse forward. I always remember Klose being in the teams, but I don't ever remember being him as dominant as he actually was.
Do you know there last week? You two were talking about Giroud,
Yeah.
and we were talking about underappreciated strikers.
Yeah.
Like Klose is,
Yeah.
like Klose is the original
Underappreciated
underappreciated
striker,
striker.
yeah.
Like honestly, I agree with you though, Warren. Like I can remember growing up and like I don't always remember Germany being a good team.
Yes.
Yeah.
But I don't ever really remember going like,
Having that
Oh,
monster number 9.
oh, they have Miroslav Klose
Yeah.
on top.
Yeah.
And then, you know, obviously as the years have gone on and he's finished his career now, like you look back on his career and like those numbers you've just said there, wow.
It's
But
ridiculous.
do you think it's because of his club form? Was that it? Maybe
His club
Well, look,
form-
he
his club
wasn't-
form wasn't poor.
it wasn't.
Yeah, it wasn't
Yeah.
poor.
It wasn't
just
poor, but he
wasn't-
wasn't.
That's
You know,
like what
winning
that-
the big tournaments.
Like
really.
that works out at like a goal every other game.
Aye,
Realistically, near enough a goal
yeah.
every other
Like,
game.
towards the end of his
know.
career, Klose was very good for not. Or
Lazio,
For Lazio.
Lazio,
Yeah, he was.
He was banging them in.
Well, obviously he's a World Cup winner in
Yeah.
2014
Yeah.
with Germany side. He scored 5 goals in his debut competition, which was the 2002 World Cup. He scored 5 goals in the 2006 World Cup, which actually won him the Golden Boot. And then he overtook, as Conor Dorman mentioned earlier, the great R9 Ronaldo for the most World Cup goals when he put his side 2-0 up in the famous 7-1 demolition of Brazil in the 2014 World Cup. There's no debate.
No question.
Miroslav Klose is probably the greatest player to ever play in World Cup competitions.
Greatest striker.
Definitely the greatest goal scorer.
Yeah.
Nobody
scored.
Nobody scored more. It's
Yeah.
as simple as that.
Sorry. So Owen, he's a World Cup hero.
I went. This boy's still playing at the top level, and he will be playing in the World Cup this year. And he's a teammate of Miroslav Klose. It's Thomas Muller. Now it sounds a wee bit out there, but Thomas Muller has played 118 games for Germany, and he scored 44 goals, and he was never an out-and-out striker. That's a pretty decent international goal
impressive.
scoring record.
Yeah.
In terms of just in the World Cup, he's had 16 World Cup appearances. He scored 10 and assisted 6.
Wow.
Yep. So
A goal contribution every
goal
game.
contribution every
That's
game from Thomas
insane.
Muller.
That's crazy.
I didn't even know that. That's insane.
That's crazy.
He burst on scene in 2010, where he scored 5 goals, which won him the Golden Boot, because he was tied with 4 other players, I think, in that tournament, and he won it because he also registered 3 assists. So he had 8 goal contributions in his first World Cup, which garnered him the Young Player of the Tournament award. In 2014, he scored 3 more goals. He scored 5 goals in 2014, including the hat-trick against Portugal in the first group game.
Yeah.
He had a further 3 assists. He scored once and assisted once in that demolition game of Brazil, and of course was a World Cup winner. He was awarded the silver ball that year, only missing out to Lionel Messi. And I think he obviously is this tournament ahead of him, so he can do a lot more. He was poor in Russia, but Germany was poor in Russia.
Yeah.
And I think Thomas Muller is a World Cup hero.
No, I totally agree. I think he's so underappreciated.
Yeah.
How good he is. Like, them stats.
Even at club level, he's underappreciated.
Yeah.
He's just been so good.
Yeah.
He's
no.
just consistently there for Germany.
He's been going for
always
so
there.
long too.
I'll be honest, when you said Thomas Muller, I was like, what are you on about? Absolutely no chance. But then, like, you've given me the stats to back it up. 16 World Cup appearances and he has 16 goal contributions. That's insane.
100%.
And obviously he's a World Cup winner.
Yeah.
It shows with them stats that you just said how integral he actually was to that World Cup winning side.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Thomas Muller's a
definitely.
World Cup hero.
Like,
Richie?
It's completely obvious, really, when you think about it. Like, he is just the absolute best at what he does in the world. I'm sitting here, I'm trying to look up the name of the role that he was given. There is a name. There's an Italian name for the position that he plays.
It's like space creator or space provider
Yes.
or something like that. Yes.
And like, it's a real specialist term that really only applies to Thomas Muller.
yeah.
But basically what it means is, what Muller does better than anybody else to have ever played the game. He creates space for players around him, but then what he does really, really well is he drops into spaces and goes completely unnoticed. That's why Muller's been able to score so many goals in his career, because he's never necessarily been quick. He's never necessarily been the most technically gifted player on the ball, but his reading of the game
And awareness.
and spatial awareness is beyond anything I think I've ever seen in football. It's just a shame I can't find the name of that position. But
Well,
Selfless,
Owen said
like,
Space Raider, which is a crisp.
Space provider.
Always thinking about food.
Space provider.
I'm only joking. You know.
I forgot what I was going to say.
but yes, look, I mean, look, he's done that throughout his career, and even now that he's a bit older, he's still doing the same thing that he did 10 years ago. You know, he's one of those
he's
players
class.
that never really needed legs to be as good as what he
No.
was. So, the fact that he just still picking up those spaces, he's an obvious choice for a World Cup hero.
I don't know if any of you have ever heard the thing, but the guys who like rate players for FIFA was talking about him once, and he was just saying it's so hard to quantify Thomas Muller's stats.
Oh yes, that's
Because-
right.
Seen that. Yeah.
What he does so well is just so hard to describe
Yeah.
and put in the numbers.
Yeah.
But he has the stats to back it up. But you're looking and he goes, right, he's not the quickest.
He's not the best shooter.
He's not the best finisher.
He's not the best dribbler.
He's not
not
the
a
best
dribbler,
dribbler. He's not the best passer.
defender,
But why does he have so many goals and so
Yeah.
many
Yeah.
assists?
Yeah.
Why is he so integral to so many great teams?
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah, Thomas Muller, World Cup hero. Connor Dorman,
So the last one I went for is Harry Kane. No, we're going Beckenbauer. Beckenbauer. He's known as the Emperor. I said that wrong. But yeah, he went to 3 World Cups. And at every World Cup, he was in the team of the tournament. Made 18 appearances. Was a champion, a runner-up, and a 3rd place.
Wow.
So he's on the 3.
He's done it all.
Yeah, 103
He
caps.
didn't even want to win the third one. He just wanted to make sure I want the third place.
103 caps, 14 goals. Which a crazy stat I seen was he scored 4 goals in the 1966 World Cup. He did play midfield, but still that is a crazy stat. He's a 2-time Ballon d'Or winner, which for a defender is unheard of, really.
Yeah.
I know Cannavaro was like the last 106.
Yeah.
But and he won as a manager as well, but we'll talk about his stats. So in 66 scored 4 goals. He was only 20 at the time, played midfield. He got the young player of the tournament. He led attacks from the back, and he's a good passer of the ball. He scored in both the quarterfinal and semi-final. And I've seen he said his job was to man mark Bobby Charlton out of the game, and he was like, oh, I did that or whatever. But then Bobby Charlton was like, my job was to man mark Beckenbauer out of the game, kind of thing. It shows how good he was. 2 heroes, like absolute ballers, really. So in 70, then he got his revenge against England. They were 2-0 down. He scores the equaliser. They go on to win the game. They did lose to Italy in the semi-final, but they did say that game is the game of the century. Unbelievable. 4-3. He dislocated his shoulder during the game in the 70th minute, but he continued to play. He played till the 90th, and then he played to 120 because they had no all subs left. Only 2 subs at that time.
Wow.
So-
Two subs?
2 subs, and they'd already made them.
5 now.
So obviously at his club level he was unbelievable too, and then in 74 he finally won the World Cup. He had won 72 as captain. By 70 he was captain, and then in 72 he won the Euros, and then in 74 then he won the World Cup, which was in West Germany. And as you're talking about, Connor, how good Cruyff was, he was known for this game because Holland were playing total football. They were just scoring goals for fun, but they conceded early. But see, that game he had Cruyff under wraps. He man of the match. He came from 1-0 down, and he was just unbelievable.
Yeah.
Just everybody remembers him. I know I obviously didn't see him, but everybody knows about him.
Yeah.
He's one of the best, probably the best centre back of all time, best defender of all time, really. Maybe him, Maldini, probably more all them players, but he's definitely a World Cup hero.
Yeah.
I don't know actually.
But you,
Did he ever make 25 saves? in
Yeah,
one
I
World Cup?
didn't see
Or,
it.
I don't know. If that
Does he have a,
25 saves in 4 games.
does he have a cool quarter flag dance?
I don't know. Yeah. only winning the World Cup, coming second and third.
know,
Has he
coming third's
really done
pathetic,
enough
yeah.
to be
Yeah,
a
you're
World
right.
Cup hero? Yeah, of course.
Yeah, funny,
Beckenbauer.
like that generation of football is the one my granda like talked to me about all the time. Like, and
Yeah.
again, it's same as Cruyff. Like, Beckenbauer is one of those names. It's just synonymous with that era of football.
Yeah.
And like everybody knows him as the Emperor. Like, he was just that good. Had a fantastic club career as well. On top of that, just one of those players that will probably like never be replicated again. You know,
He's so good on the ball.
Yeah.
But he could also defend.
but
just great mix.
he is just one of those phenomenal sort of standout footballers.
Yeah.
So definitely World Cup hero, Franz Beckenbauer.
definitely.
Has to be. All right, then we're going to move on into our last segment of the podcast this week. Just a bit of a fun segment. Going to start us off with just our favourite World Cup shirts. I'll start us off then. I 4. I couldn't really pick between any of them because I think all 4 of these shirts that I've said I would happily wear out and about. I'll probably wear some of them to the nightclub as well. To be honest, they're that nice. I've gone first of all with the 98 Holland home shirt, synonymous for that famous Dennisberg camp.
They began.
Absolutely love that shirt.
That was Owen, by the way. That wasn't any commentary clip or anything. That was McArdle.
Yeah, just one of those classic football shirts. The nice black collar. The silver Nike sign, silver Holland crest, silver number on the front. It was just one of those synonymous World Cup kits. I've gone 02 Brazil. I can remember the number being in the circle.
Unreal.
Yeah.
I'll never forget that jersey for as long as I live. I think that jersey is probably Brazil's best ever jersey. I've gone for the 2014 Spain away. Now, I've gone for this because I had this jersey as I was going to say a kid, but I was like 15 whenever the 2014 World Cup was there, so I wasn't a kid, but I used to wear that jersey all the time. I absolutely loved it. And I've gone a special mention for this year's World Cup. I've gone the 2022 Germany away shirt, and I've literally just put in here, Germany don't miss. Because no matter what German kit it is, they always slap.
Yeah.
They're
It's a bit like
unreal.
Brazil.
Yeah.
Brazil don't miss
Like,
either.
their
Yeah.
kits are just unbelievable
Yeah.
all the time. So, but I think particularly this Germany away shirt this year, that gets me excited.
Yeah.
And I would definitely wear that out and about. Like, so
It's just a pity you can't have rice on the back of this one.
it is, to be fair, but look, it's coming from AliExpress, and we've got a wee surprise with who's on the back of it. So spoiler, it's Adeyemi.
Yeah, no, it's a lovely jersey. I've only got 2, and they're very, very recent. So we've got the 2018 Nigeria World Cup jersey.
Lovely
Just-
shirt.
oh,
Sure, yeah.
gorgeous. Like,
Do you know my mum hated me when I bought that shirt? She was
Why?
like, "That's disgusting."
My mouth's the same. I showed her a picture. I goes to the
What?
store. I was like, no, it's rotten.
Yeah, my mum was all to me, "Why'd you buy that? That is rotten."
oh my god.
Like, even now, if I wear it now, she's like, "I hope you only wear that to football." I'm like, right, cheers, mum.
Well, I loved it, Michelle. No, I love that jersey. And then I'm going one from this year. I'm going the away Denmark jersey, blacked out, just because of what it means and all as well.
Yeah.
Obviously, as we said in the last podcast, no, we don't really want to get into that. We want to stick to football. But for the symbolism and all of this Denmark jersey, and I'm rooting for Denmark this year, just with Christian Eriksen and all being back in the team, and the Denmark away jersey.
Even, do you know, taking aside the political message, it's just a lovely
It's just a
shirt.
lovely jersey,
Yeah,
just
I-
blacked out. Blacked
I-
out jerseys are
I'm
lovely.
the stickler for a blackout
Blackout
jersey.
jerseys
Yeah,
are unreal.
class.
Yeah.
Class.
Owen?
I went with 3. The first one I've went with is the Germany kit from Italia 90. We all know the one with the German flag that goes across the chest.
the chest, yeah.
The
Unreal.
diagonal pattern. It's beautiful.
That's
Yeah.
iconic.
It's simple, but it's just iconic.
Yeah.
I've went with the Ireland away jersey from USA 94. Do you know the one with the 3 green the white one with the 3 green stripes that fade away?
Yes, yes.
It's a bit of an acquired taste, but I like that in the jersey sometimes. I think it's class, and similar in the vein of Connor when he went to Spain 2014 one, I went Portugal's away kit from 2010. It's the white one with the red and green stripe down the middle.
Yes.
I had that jersey when I was a kid. I was a kid too. I was only 9 with Ronaldo in the back. So I was walking around Portugal thinking, these people don't know I'm a tourist. They think I'm one of them. But
what?
I love that jersey, and it's probably not the nicest kit in the World Cup, but I just love that jersey because I had it when I was a kid.
Yeah. Quality jerseys.
Yeah, I just went for a few jerseys as well. Any French jersey really, boys, I just love it. But I'll just go for the 2018 one because they won the World Cup. Argentina. I seen actually like the 86 one was class, just more on it because obviously synonymous with them and stuff like that.
That was like the Le Cop sporty form,
Yeah,
wasn't it?
I just like the light blue. I just love that light blue. And I seen a Mexican jersey there. It was cool, but the Japan one as well. The 2018 World Cup, the blue.
Yeah, it was
the
nice.
class.
It was
nice,
really
actually,
nice.
yeah.
Mexico's jersey this year's nice, the white one.
Yeah, it
I
is.
have to say, I think the only kits this year that I don't think are that nice is the Puma ones.
The away ones.
Yeah, I'm not really a fan of those like weird designs in the middle.
Puma haven't hit it at all this year.
No.
But see, I would argue some of those away ones do slap.
Do you reckon?
I think the Morocco one is really nice. I think, but the rest of them are pretty crap.
Yeah. Like, you know what you get with Nike and Adidas, and they normally produce some fantastic shirts, but I don't know, I just find this year Puma just isn't up with it this year, really.
Even their third kits for the Champions League.
But so they're all the same,
What
like,
are they about?
template. Yeah, like, this is the thing, like, football shirts are all pretty much the same thing now.
Yeah.
Like, even take Adidas this year, United and Arsenal's home jerseys are essentially the same jersey, like, both with the collar, both that same sort of design. Like, there's no like individual jerseys for individual teams anymore, which is starting to become a shame. It's just so that
definitely.
Nike, Adidas, Puma, all these guys can just mass produce their jerseys.
The only time you sort of see individuality is when you have a team that has a traditional style.
Yeah.
Like Argentina's blue and white.
Yeah.
It's not going to be a template. Celtic's green and white. Barcelona's, well, they went a wee bit off the pile recently.
Yeah.
when it
Yeah,
comes
they
to
actually have.
their stripes. They kind of go mad.
Yeah.
Juventus.
Juventus, yeah.
Yeah, anybody with those sort of like traditional style as such,
Yeah.
like their kits, they can always sort of change wee bits and pieces on them.
Yeah.
But like, I don't know, I'm just finding kits nowadays are not, they're just not hitting the same as when we were younger, really.
Yeah.
Well, you see kits like the old classic football shirts now are considered fashion.
Yeah.
Which is weird for me because now I own something that's on trend.
But that's what I mean. Like when we're talking about these favorite World Cup shirts, like I mean it. Like I would wear the Holland or the Brazil one to a nightclub. No problem.
Yes.
Like football is in fashion at the minute, and there are some really nice vintage shirts out there. I have quite a few vintage shirts at the house. Like I think of the '88 Holland one. I have a classic Germany shirt as well. I'm in the market at the minute for a classic Ireland shirt, so somebody hit me up if they have one. I'll happily buy it off you. But yeah, like I just think football shirts now compared to football shirts maybe 10, 15 years ago, they're just
Well,
not
now
the same.
it's just a money business.
Yeah.
Exactly. Sure. Every club used to release a new kit every 2 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you should be
And
able
now it's
to.
every
Like,
year and all
Well,
that.
it's-
You know?
it's
And
three.
they're all like similar.
Yeah.
Never
I,
changed them.
I remember Celtic had the same way kit for 3 years.
Yeah.
Now they have 4 kits
Yeah.
because there's a 4th kit coming out. Why does Celtic need a 4th kit?
Yeah.
They
That's
don't need
mad.
a 4th kit. It's just it's a complete money business.
Yeah.
And it won't be too long now before World Cups are going to have 3rd kits.
Do you reckon?
I guarantee you they'll start releasing World Cup 3rd kits in the next 10, 15 years.
Yeah. As you say, it's money business.
Yeah, it is. Okay, well that's going to wrap it up for this episode, folks. Thank you for listening, and we'll be back again same time next week. So
Hopefully with a few more games to talk about.
hopefully,
Yeah.
this time with a few more games.
More exciting games.
But look, we hope you enjoyed that section. Once again, don't be afraid to leave us a comment. Don't be afraid to shoot us a text or shoot us a tweet. Let us know if you agree or disagree with our opinions. And thanks very much for listening. See you next week.
And of course, enjoy the World Cup.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks.